Hey everybody, it's Videobob, and our first oil change video for the Rolls-Royce Phantom was very successful. But there's some things we've learned since then, and a lot of people have made a lot of suggestions, and it's time to change the oil again. So hey, here's the Rolls-Royce oil change and maintenance part 2. Make sure you release the hood first. Last time we forgot to loosen the oil. I don't think it's quite that vacuumed of a system, but it's a good thing to go ahead and take your oil cap off. Make sure there's no pressure up in there. Just get that nice and loose and get it up in the air. Going to be going to Manchester, England next month, and I'm going to be visiting Edinburgh, Scotland. Have a little Urn brew. I'm going to need some energy for this. Iron brew gets you through. So this time we've got the correct man oil filter. So many people complain to me that we use a generic STP filter. You can get like a regular filter from the average auto parts store for $5. You can spend a little bit more, maybe $10, and get the man filter. And I gotta be honest, I've looked at both filters and they're pretty close to the same filter. You're just dealing with a cartridge filter. It comes with some gaskets. I bought a case of these, so I'll be able to change oil as much as I want. The oil we're using today is basically what it calls for, which is a 5W30 synthetic. This is Mobil 1. I like Mobil 1. I think it's good stuff. I change my oil a lot more often than they suggest because in Texas it's hot. And so I decide that I like to change oil out. But, you know, I've seen other oils offered in the manual for different climates. I mean, I guess if you're living in like Russia or England or somewhere where it's really cold or damp, it doesn't get that cold here. Quite frankly, after 80,000 miles on this car, I probably should be using a slightly thicker oil, give me a little bit more compression, a little bit more heat resistance. But I'm going to go with the 530. It's been good to me. And here we go. All right, so you got a lot of plastic under here. You got this front belly pan, you got a rear belly pan. And I think you could survive with just taking this first one off. We'll take that one off. Okay. What we like to do is we like to put a little extra support. We have this, you know, in the first video I played a video, I'm not going to play it again. I played a video of guys had a Phantom up on a rack like this and it fell off the rack and crushed the two guys and killed them. I don't know why that happened. I don't know if the rack failed or they didn't have it mounted correctly. But I'll show you a couple things on the car. BMWs and the Phantom in particular, they have these mounting points built into the body. You'll see. And so you want to be right on those pads. Now, the factory BMW and Rolls-Royce, they have a special little disc, which we have under here, that has a notch in it that keeps this thing from sliding around. Now, this is a heavy car. This thing weighs a lot. It weighs about as much as a truck. But you want to make sure you're on those leveling points and that you're as level as that you can get. But just for extra measure, just because we use these little mounts here, and
try and get it right.
You're going to put it right on the
frame here.
The frame rail there. You know, because this is this cooler here coming off the rear end could get chipped, so you may not want to put it there. So he's going to put it up on the frame area. And then this one up front, even if it's not even making contact, you know, even if you just have this here, now you have, this is a bump point here, a lift area, that's a lift jack area. You can put it here, but we have to take this plastic off. But even if you just have this here, if this thing were to tilt, it would crash up into something and it would at least help keep it from falling on your head. Got a lot of plastic on here, you know, this is a little broken right here, cracked. We had done a repair on this. We showed in the last video where we put this piece of plastic here. There was a big hole punched here. It's supposed to be a mount. I need to replace this belly pan. I think it's about $800 or $900, which is why I haven't done it. It's just expensive. It's just kind of an unneeded expense. And it is oily under here. I do have a slight oil leak. You saw in one of my previous videos, we did these lower control arms. Those came out great. But we do have a little bit of oil. Not a big deal. A little bit of this lip here. You can't see it unless you crawl into the car. This is probably an expensive piece. This is an air temperature sensor here. But you want to check all your bushings, connections as best you can. We've already done all this, so this is all in good shape.
Oh, this right here. Or no.
Just a crack.
It was just in the dark.
There's not one here.
Okay, just
Just a little bit of a wiggle.
Alright, full stuff. Something can wipe out.
Yeah. Let me
And right here is like a party. Anything to drain off those?
Yeah, this is fairly nice.
But here is your plastic oil filter housing. And then your main drain. Don't confuse the transmission. This is the transmission filter and bottom and drain. And then your let me see, your main oil drain is right in front of this little cross member here, right there. So we're gonna drain from there. Now there's also a drain on the filter housing, and that's so that you can drain that before you take it off, so it's not full of oil. But that's not where you drain the oil. That's just an extra precaution so that you can. But we're gonna clean this up a little bit, and we're gonna drain the oil. Your drain plug here is a metric. It's an number 8 Allen. And this breaker bar may be overkill, but keeps you from busting knuckles when you have lots to play with there. Luckily this goes straight down, so you don't have to deal with a arc of oil like we did last time. However, it's going to be awfully hot. And there we go. Now this thing holds something like 8 quarts, so over 7. So make sure you have an empty drain can or a very large one. Now I see a lot of people in the comments, they say, why don't you use like a suction unit that runs down the tube, or, you know, I've never really liked those. If you have the luxury of having an actual lift like we do, this is really the way to do it. You know, using those suction units, you're never going to get everything out, and you're certainly not going to get the junk out. And it's a really good thing to get a visual under your car and get a real look at everything. There's a real satisfaction to changing your own oil. I see a lot of people in the comments say, Rolls-Royce owner should never be changing his own oil. To me, this is the joy of the ownership of the car. I want to know everything about it. I want to be intimate with it. You know, it's just like your woman. You want to know everything about her. This shop here is my shop that I use just for the purpose of taking care of my vehicles. I have about 20 cars, and we have a staff here for taking care of the cars, and we do build custom cars here. The majority of the stuff we do here is just taking care of my own vehicles. And I just take a lot of pride of ownership. I want to know for certain how my car is being taken care of. And my Rolls is my baby. So as these cars continue to age and hit the market, as they depreciate down to 10 to 20% of their value, you're going to see more and more 2004 and up Rolls-Royces hitting the market at under $100,000. You're going to be able to see them for maybe even under $70,000 on a regular basis. But they're going to need a little help. So if this is your first time seeing my video, make sure to subscribe and go back and look through some of my older videos where we talk about how we've done the brakes and the lower control arms and all the different things that you need to do on a 15-year-old car. It's not always about the miles that are on the car. Rubber breaks down and other components break down. And no matter what, even if you got a car that only has 20 or 30,000 miles on it, which a lot of these Rolls-Royces do, age, heat, cold, you know, different conditions, how the car is stored. Even if it's stored in a perfect environment, nothing lasts forever. And you really should change your oil quite often. Oh, I could hear you. I could hear the keyboards ticking as I was putting it in. Bob, aren't you going to replace the washer? Yes, I am. This is a Benchmade Mini Infidel. Every time I use this thing, people comment, what is that pocket knife you have? The reason they use pure copper for these is copper is a very soft metal, and it's called a crush washer because it crushes, and that creates the seal. It's great for super high temperatures. So this thing is getting really hot. If you were to use, a type of rubber, it may break down. So the copper is not going to fail like a rubber or a urethane or a silicone might even, And it's just strong. Don't need this to be that tight anyway. I like it a little bit tight, personally. That's why I use the breaker bar to get it off. All right, now, we haven't drained this oil filter. We could, if we wanted to. And maybe we should. That's probably a, if this was a number 8, then what do you think that one is?
Maybe the same?
No, it's
Or a
not
little
the
smaller?
same. It'd be cool if it
Oh,
was,
okay, okay.
but it's BMW. They would never do that. They would never make things easy. So if this is an 8, let's go for like a 6. 6. You just know these things after a while. So the idea here is that you can pull this little cap out and just drain the little bit of oil that's in the filter. Check that that O-ring kit that came with that man filter and see if maybe they give you this tiny little O-ring. They do? So yeah, one of the advantages to that man filter, they know what kind of car you're going to put it on, and you've got this little O-ring. So the purpose of this extra drain was they know that there's going to be other oil in this little cavity, and when you pull this out, it's going to make a big mess. Well, by simply including this little drain here, which is an extra step, but it's all part of the process. And I'm going to go ahead and put that back in. Now this you don't want to over tighten. You just, as Cole says, you tighten it till it stops. It is handy having somebody to help. This probably is not under a lot of pressure, but I think it was over tightened, and it is awfully hot. Awfully hot. Ow. 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 All right, hold on to that. I need my cat-like reflexes for this. You know what? Maybe we shouldn't use the STP filter. Maybe it is crap. And what was that about? I thought it was done. It's that time of the month. It's kind of like, well, I'm not going to say it. You think you're done, and then there's just always that one little drop. So let's clean this really well with a rag and then replace that O-ring. So you'd use a little pick, you could use a screwdriver or knife, doesn't matter because you're going to sacrifice it. And you pull that old O-ring off and you put the new one on. Goes right in there. All right, now the filter, This is the man filter. And this goes up onto, there's like a shaft, right? And then it's going to click in there. Now, I believe you can click this into the actual filter housing itself, just like that. And it holds it as a cartridge. Now, I'm going to do this myself, and I recommend this. Order an extra one of these. Because if you ever accidentally break it during one of these processes, crack it or anything, you're screwed. That's probably way overkill. Now I've got this thing all dirty. Oh yeah, it's a little better. Okay, let me get my ratchet. Girl, you ratchet. I wanted the bigger one. That's why I had that one. You have so much more control. It's also got a tilt on it. It's completely effortless. Got a little bit more feel. Oh yeah, there we go. Right there. Nice. Oh yeah, it's pretty. It's interesting how they put the drain right in front of this bar here. But it's not too hard to get to. So that goes forward to the control arms, I see. And, oh, I see, and this attaches to this part of the cradle here. So what it looks like to me is you only need to remove the back panel. You don't need to remove the front panel. Drop it like it's hot. So there you are. We've done another oil change. Now we're going to fill it up with some 5W30 Mobile 1. It says here on this little plate they recommend Castrol, but we're doing... No, I've always used this Mobile 1 because, well, they sell it at Costco, and it's super cheap. I get it for like 28 bucks for a case or something like that. And it's good oil. Doesn't suck. I don't know exactly how much a Rolls-Royce oil change costs. I would assume it's upwards of $500. I've heard people say it's $1,500. That doesn't make sense. I know the Rolls-Royce dealership charges something like $220 an hour for labor. And I don't know what kind of special Rolls-Royce oil they're using. I need to call up there and ask them how much they charge. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do it myself. But I am going to bring up an important point that if you're going to change your own oil, there's a special tool that you're going to need. Purring like a kitten.
PCB, but yeah, I guess we'll just start it up and look at this.
Oh yeah, it definitely needs another
Yeah, I
cord.
think we're just directly right there, so.
So, book says 8.25. Rolls-Royce doesn't like to give out their information. That's why I'm doing these videos. You really can't find much of anything you know about the car. We end up putting 9 quarts of the 530 in, total of 9. And let's check and see where it is. I think that's going to be the right amount. Yeah, it's at the top of the hatch, which is fine. Once it circulates a bit more, goes through the oil cooler, through the oil-cooled alternators and all that other stuff. I'm going to go ahead and start it again, let it circulate a bit. Stay tuned for my viewers, because one of the Next projects I'm going to be putting in, I'm going to be putting in a remote start system by Viper. Let me track the vehicle anywhere in the world. Let me start with confirmation in the car and also have remote unlocking. It's made for BMW, but it'll work for this car as well. All right, there is one more thing we have to do. We need to reset the oil and service counter. This can only be done by your dealer, unless. Okay, well, I've got this Foxwell, and this is the NT650 is the one that I use. And we're going to go to, let me see where I need to go. Oil, reset.
Hold it a little bit higher.
There we go. Now I've got the key on, but not running. And I can choose, let's see, Rolls-Royce, number 36. Reset. Engine oil. And also, you know, we did spark plugs and stuff the other day. I'm going to do that as well. Establishing vehicle communications. Please wait. I'm going to see if it responds on the dash here. So what's interesting about this, and I pointed this out before, is it shows how many times it's been reset. So the service counter here says 14 times. So what's great about that is you can check your vehicle mileage and how many times the service counter has been reset. And then from that, you can calculate how many dealer services have been done. Somebody might have changed the oil without resetting it, but you don't know. But at least if you were going to look at the car, if you were going to go buy a used one, you could use this to bring this with you, plug it in and have a look at the car, and you could go in and check out the service. Okay, we're gonna turn the key on here without starting it. Now there's this little trick. You can hold your trip reset, just keep holding it until you're gonna see another little screen pop up in this window there. See where it says back? And then by pressing this, you can go through there and it says microfilter 4,100 miles. And we can hold that. And then reset. Hold it. Okay, that's brake fluid, engine oil. And so engine oil, I think that means 9,000 miles. Are they suggesting you only change the oil every 9,000 miles? Are you crazy? Anyway, then you can exit out of this. So this is going to show that you've got 99% availability of your oil, service counter of 15 oil changes, a distance remaining of 15,000 kilometers. So they're suggesting on here that, you know, you're only changing the oil. You know, I change my oil much sooner than that, in my opinion. You know, but this is what the car and the computer and the manual is calling for. I like to change my oil at least every 5,000 miles personally. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. This was oil change on the Rolls-Royce number 2. We corrected some mistakes that we did on number 1. I'm sure somebody out there is going to complain about something. People complained about the brand of oil. They complained about the brand of filter. They complained about the way we did it. There's always some tech who has their own way of doing it. The important thing is using what we believe are the correct materials and getting out there and, as Tavarish, my friend, says, wrench every day. Just because you own a luxury car doesn't mean that you shouldn't enjoy working on it. And I love working on my Rolls-Royce, and I love driving it, not just being driven and riding in the back. That's for some people, but for me, I'm a car guy. I love cars, and I bought this thing because I have a great appreciation for well-built cars. This is a well-built car, and I'm very impressed with it, and I drive it every day. So if you love the Rolls-Royce Phantom and some of the other cars that we show on here, and you want to drive one of these every day and you pick one up, make sure to follow my channel. We're going to be doing a lot more to this car, and every time we do some kind of maintenance or encounter some kind of a problem, we'll make sure to document it for you. Now, maybe you're never going to own a Rolls-Royce Phantom, but at least you can see what it's like. So thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and thanks for turning on your notifications, because you're going to get to see our live videos. And I'm Videobob. Thanks.